Have you ever felt as if you were stuck in an endless season of waiting? You've planted the seeds, you've given your best, and yet the outside world remains strangely silent. It can feel like nothing is moving, like life has pressed pause on your dreams. But what if that pause is not a punishment? What if it's a sacred recalibration? In the silence you're resisting, a hidden construction is taking place. The universe hasn't forgotten you. It is reorganizing the very architecture of your being so that when your breakthrough comes, you'll actually be able to hold it. Waiting often feels heavy because we have been taught to equate progress with visible results. A new job, a promotion, a relationship, a milestone we can show the world. But the most important shifts are invisible. They are not found in announcements or accomplishments, but in the quiet rewiring of your inner system. Just like a river does not announce every bend, your transformation unfolds quietly, underground, in the roots of your being. What feels like stillness on the outside is often the deepest motion within. Think about this. If you tried to run the newest software on an outdated computer, what would happen? It would crash, overheat, or simply refuse to function. In the same way, your life cannot sustain the next level while you are still operating with old patterns, old fears, old ways of being. The pause is giving your system the space to upgrade. It is not holding you back. It is preparing you to walk into alignment without collapsing under the very blessings you've been praying for. Many times, we confuse this sacred pause with failure. We think, if nothing is happening, maybe I'm not enough. But look deeper. What appears as rejection may actually be redirection. Maybe the door closed, not because you weren't qualified, but because you were being guided to a space where your gifts could truly breathe. Sometimes, the job that fell through or the relationship that dissolved was not taking from you. It was making room for something that matched your frequency. From the limited perspective of the mind, it feels like loss. But from the higher view of consciousness, it is alignment. The challenge is this: our human mind hates uncertainty. It wants timelines, guarantees, proof that something is coming. Yet the deeper truth is that life moves according to resonance, not deadlines. The quantum field doesn't respond to your impatience. It responds to your state of being. Imagine tuning a radio. If your station is filled with static because you're comparing yourself to everyone else, you cannot hear the music that's meant for you. Comparison scrambles the signal. The moment you look at someone else's progress and think, I should be further along by now, your energy field starts echoing scarcity, and the field gives you more of the same. But the instant you return to your own rhythm, the static fades. Authenticity reappears. Creativity flows again. That's the paradox. Alignment is not about doing more. It's about remembering who you are when you stop trying to be someone else. In quantum physics, there is a concept called superposition. It means that multiple realities exist at the same time until one is observed. Right now, many versions of your future are already alive. The version where you win is as real as the version where you quit. Every day you hold your frequency. You are collapsing the reality that matches it. When you focus on lack, you collapse into more lack. When you hold the vibration of already done, you collapse into fulfillment. Your waiting is not empty. It is the bridge between these two worlds. And here's something we rarely consider. Your nervous system also needs preparation. If too much abundance or success came before you were ready, your body might interpret it as unsafe. This is why people who suddenly win the lottery often lose it all. Their inner system has not yet expanded to hold that level of joy. The waiting period stretches your capacity. It teaches your body that peace can exist without constant struggle. It's not only your mind that's evolving, it's your biology, your cells, your DNA. During this season, synchronicities begin to show up. You notice repeating numbers, random conversations that seem to carry the exact message you needed, opportunities that appear the moment you release control. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations. They are whispers from the field saying, "Stay steady. You're aligning." It's as if the universe is adjusting the furniture of reality around you, quietly moving pieces into place, so that when your signal is clear, everything is ready to respond. The final test often comes right before the shift. Something will be offered to you that looks almost like what you wanted, but not quite. And here you must decide, do I settle for almost, or do I trust that the real thing is on its way? These threshold tests are not obstacles, they are calibrations. If you pass them, you step into alignment that is sustainable and true. If you don't, you learn, and the system resets until you're ready. Now imagine this. What if the waiting is not waiting at all? What if your winning moment has already begun? Think of ordering something online. The transaction is complete. The moment you press purchase, but it takes time to ship. You don't sit by the door panicking that the package won't come. You know it's on the way. That's how the quantum works. The moment you aligned, the reality was secured. What you're experiencing now is simply the shipping time between the invisible and the visible. So instead of saying, "When will it happen?" try whispering to yourself, "It's already happening." Feel the difference. One vibration is restless, anxious, demanding. The other is calm, open, receptive. And the calm one accelerates the process. Because the field does not hear your words, it feels your frequency. When you embody the energy of arrival, physical reality has no choice but to reorganize itself to match. My friend, the waiting season is not wasted. It is where you become the version of yourself who can hold what's coming. It is not life delaying you, it is life preparing you. And when you finally step into the reality you've been calling, it won't feel like luck or chance. It will feel inevitable, because by then, you'll realize that the moment of victory did not begin when the evidence showed up. It began the day you stopped resisting, the day you trusted the silence, to the day you allowed the field to reshape you from within. Your turn is not on the horizon. It is here, now, pulsing in this very breath. All that remains is for you to cooperate with it, to relax into it, to become it. And when you do, the world around you will rearrange in ways so precise, so aligned, that you'll understand you were never waiting for life to change. Life was waiting for you to remember who you truly are. 1. The meaning of waiting. Waiting is one of the most misunderstood seasons of life. For many of us, it feels like a punishment, a delay, or even evidence that we've been forgotten. We look around and see others moving forward, reaching milestones, celebrating achievements, while we are left with silence, with emptiness, with unanswered prayers. And yet, waiting is never a punishment. It is a recalibration. It is the hidden preparation that allows you to sustain what you have been calling in. Think of it this way: before a plane takes off, every part of it must be inspected, calibrated, and tested. If it tried to launch without this careful preparation, the risk of collapse would be too great. In the same way, when life slows you down, it is not withholding your journey. It is strengthening your wings so that when you rise, you do not fall back to the ground. I have lived through seasons where silence felt unbearable. Days turned into months, and it seemed as if nothing in my outer world responded to the prayers I whispered in the dark. But as I look back now, I see that those quiet years were not wasted. They were reprogramming me. They stripped away illusions I once clung to, dissolved old beliefs I didn't even know were blocking me, and built a resilience I could never have discovered in constant motion. Waiting teaches you to meet yourself, when everything external is stripped away, when no doors are opening, when opportunities dry up, when no applause comes, you are left face to face with your own being. It is in that silence that you begin to hear your truest voice, the one that had been drowned out by noise and ambition, This is why so many of the most profound transformations happen not in moments of visible victory, but in the long, invisible corridors of waiting. From a spiritual perspective, waiting is the pause between the inhale and the exhale. Life is not meant to be an endless rush of intake or output. There is rhythm in the universe, expansion and contraction, day and night, tides rising and falling. In your own journey, waiting is the contraction before the expansion. It is the darkness of soil before the seed breaks through. To judge that darkness as emptiness is to misunderstand its sacred role. Without it, growth could never be sustained. Science even affirms this truth. Our nervous system has a threshold, a window of tolerance for how much joy, success, or abundance it can hold. If your dream came too soon, before your nervous system had expanded, your body would sabotage it. You would not be able to feel safe inside the very gift you prayed for. This is why the waiting period is necessary. It is teaching your biology that peace can exist outside of struggle, that safety can exist inside expansion. You are being trained, not punished. Waiting also recalibrates your perspective. When you first ask for something, a dream job, a partner, a breakthrough, you often imagine it from the lens of your current self. But the universe is preparing to give it to your future self, the one who has grown, who has expanded, who has shed the old skins of fear. That means the version of you who first prayed cannot be the same version who receives. The waiting is where the old self dissolves and the new self emerges. This is why so many people look back later and say, "I'm glad it didn't happen sooner." At the time, the delay felt cruel. But with distance, you see that the very pause you resented was the space that allowed you to grow into the person who could actually hold the blessing. Without the waiting, you might have fumbled it. With the waiting, you received it with strength. And yet, let's be honest, waiting hurts. It feels like standing at a closed door, knocking, and hearing nothing in return. It feels like planting seeds and staring at bare soil. The temptation is always to push, to force, to demand that something bloom before its season. But here is the paradox: the more you push against the waiting, the longer it feels. The more you resist the silence, the more unbearable it becomes. Only when you soften into it, when you allow the pause to be what it is, does its hidden gift begin to reveal itself. I often compare it to the way bread rises. You mix the ingredients, you knead the dough, and then you wait. If you rush it, if you bake it too soon, the bread is dense, flat, and unsatisfying. But if you allow the yeast its time, the dough expands naturally, and the bread nourishes fully. Waiting works the same way. It is the rising of your soul, the unseen expansion that prepares you for a future that is already waiting for you. From the quantum perspective, waiting is not really waiting at all. The field of possibility has already responded to your desire. The moment you aligned with your vision, it became real in the quantum realm. What you are experiencing now is the lag between invisible reality and visible manifestation. It is like placing an order online. The transaction is complete, but the package has not yet arrived at your door. In that shipping period, you do not panic or doubt the process. You know it is coming. In the same way, your dream is already on its way. The pause is not proof of absence, it is proof of preparation. So, what is the meaning of waiting? It is not punishment. It is protection. It is the pause that makes sure your roots are deep enough to hold the tree when it grows tall. It is the silence that teaches you to trust your own breath. It is the sacred recalibration that aligns your nervous system, your consciousness, and your soul with the very thing you have been seeking. When you begin to see waiting this way, everything changes. You stop fighting the silence. You stop panicking at the delay. Instead, you lean into it, knowing that in this hidden place, you are being remade. And when the moment comes, and it will, It will not feel rushed or fragile or accidental. It will feel inevitable, because by then, you will realize that waiting was never keeping you from your destiny. It was shaping you into the person who could finally receive it. 2. The trap of comparison. Comparison is one of the most subtle thieves of peace. It rarely storms in loudly. Instead, it creeps in quietly, almost disguised as inspiration. You look at someone else's success, their highlight moments, the milestones they've achieved, and at first, it seems harmless. You think, if they can do it, so can I. But beneath that thought, if you listen carefully, there is often a quieter voice whispering, "Why am I not there yet? What am I missing?" And that whisper grows into static, clouding your signal until you can no longer hear the rhythm of your own life. I know this static well. I have lived with it. There were nights I scrolled through endless images of other people's joy announcements, vacations, promotions, while my own life felt like a blank page. At first, I thought it was harmless, just catching up with the world. But slowly, I noticed what it did to my heart. It was no longer about celebration. It was about measurement. Each post became a ruler against which I measured my worth. And each time, I came up short. This is the trap of comparison. It masquerades as motivation but leaves you drained. It convinces you that you are behind, that life has overlooked you, that you need to rush, push, or force your way forward just to catch up. But life is not a racetrack, and you are not here to sprint in someone else's lane. You are here to walk in your own rhythm, to breathe in your own timing, to bloom in your own season. When you compare, you lose your signal. Imagine a radio tuned perfectly to your favorite station. The music is clear, the message is alive, the sound is vibrant. Then, you begin to twist the dial towards someone else's station. Suddenly, there's noise, distortion, interference. That is what comparison does to the soul. Your frequency gets scrambled because you are trying to live inside someone else's pattern. The clarity of your own intuition is drowned out by static that was never meant for you. And here is the great paradox. While you are busy measuring your journey against another's, you are blind to the small miracles unfolding in your own field. You miss the subtle synchronicities, the inner nudges, the perfectly timed opportunities that were designed specifically for you. Life is always speaking, but comparison is so loud, you cannot hear its whispers. Psychology calls this social comparison theory, and it shows how constantly measuring yourself against others lowers your sense of worth and clarity. Spiritually, it is even deeper. Comparison is not just harmful to your mood, it literally disrupts your frequency. It's like broadcasting a distorted signal into the quantum field. Instead of coherence, you send out contradiction. Instead of flow, you broadcast resistance. And reality, like a mirror, reflects that back to you. I have seen this in my own life. When I chased trends, when I tried to prove myself in the eyes of others, nothing flowed. Opportunities slipped through my hands. And even when I achieved something, it felt hollow, performative, unstable. But when I stopped measuring, when I returned to what felt true, everything shifted. The work began to carry joy again. The ideas flowed without effort. And strangely, without chasing. The right people and opportunities began to appear. It was as if the universe had been waiting for me to turn down the static and tune back into myself. Comparison also plays tricks with time. It tells you that you are late, behind, that you must rush to catch up. But the truth is, there is no such thing as being behind in a universe where every soul moves according to its own blueprint. A flower does not look at the tree beside it and say, "Why are you taller than me? Why are you blooming sooner?" It simply blooms when the sun and soil align with its nature. The oak tree and the rose bush do not compete. and yet both are necessary for the garden to be whole. In the same way, your timing is sacred. You are not late. You are unfolding according to your own design. The freedom comes when you realize this. You cannot miss what is truly yours. No one can take your place in the field of consciousness. Your frequency is unique. Your path is unrepeatable. The universe does not recycle destinies. What belongs to you will always align with you if you stay tuned to your signal. Comparison only distracts you, delays you, pulls you into stories that were never meant for your soul. But the moment you release it, your energy begins to harmonize again. There is a softness that returns when you let go of comparison. You begin to notice beauty in small things again. You stop running in circles and start walking with presence. You realize that your worth is not defined by what others have or how quickly they got it. Your worth is intrinsic, eternal, untouchable. And from that place of rest, creativity returns. Ideas bubble up. Intuition speaks louder. Your path, once blurred, comes back into focus. If you feel yourself caught in the trap of comparison right now, I invite you to pause. Breathe. Remember, what looks like someone else's highlight is not the full picture of their life. And even if it were, it has nothing to do with yours. Their timing, their path, their lessons are not yours to carry. Your task is to honor your own unfolding. Comparison is the thief of presence, and presence is the doorway to alignment. When you release the urge to measure, you come back to the only place power ever lives: this moment. This breath, this frequency, here, in your own rhythm. You will find that you are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be. So let the noise fade. Let the static clear. Turn the dial back to your own station, the one that carries the music of your soul. When you do, you'll see that the universe has been waiting not for you to catch up with others, but for you to remember the beauty of walking in your own light. 3. The harmony of the soul. Not every desire we hold in our human mind is aligned with the deeper calling of our soul. This is one of the hardest truths to accept, because so often, what we think we want feels urgent, necessary, even life-defining. We imagine that achieving it will finally make us whole, will finally prove our worth, will finally give us rest. Yet the waiting season has a way of revealing something far more subtle and far more powerful: the difference between the wants of the personality and the desires of the soul. I have lived through long stretches where my prayers seemed to echo in silence. I pleaded for certain outcomes, convinced they were the very key to my happiness. But over time, I began to realize that those unanswered prayers were not neglect, they were grace. Because if every wish of the mind were granted immediately, I would have walked paths that looked glittering on the surface, but hollowed me out within. The waiting became the refining, the gentle chiseling away of surface desires until only what was true remained. The soul has a blueprint. You might call it destiny. You might call it purpose. But it is not a rigid script. It is more like a deep river, always flowing toward the ocean of fulfillment. The human mind often runs alongside that river, pointing to branches, detours, and shiny distractions, insisting that this is where the water must go. But the river itself knows better. It bends and curves, not out of confusion, but out of wisdom, and in the end, every twist carries it closer to the sea. Waiting, then, is the time when our human wants are invited to merge with the soul's flow. This is why delays feel so painful. They are the friction between what we think we need and what our deeper being actually came here to experience. When you surrender to this refinement, something extraordinary happens. The resistance softens. The wants that were rooted in ego, fear, or comparison begin to dissolve. And what remains is pure alignment, the kind of desire that carries the full weight of the universe behind it. This merging of personal desire with soul purpose is not just philosophy, It is a real energetic shift. When your wants are driven by fear, fear of being left behind, fear of not being enough, fear of scarcity, the energy field around you carries static. It pushes and grasps, but the universe responds with delay because the frequency is incoherent. But when your desires arise from the soul, from love, from truth, from an authentic expression of who you are, the field responds differently. It opens, it amplifies, it organizes reality with precision, because the frequency is pure. I remember a time when I was chasing opportunities that, deep down, I knew weren't right for me. They looked appealing. They promised recognition. But something inside me felt unsettled. I pushed anyway, exhausting myself in the process, and every door remained closed. It was only when I stopped, when I let go of my desperate insistence, that I realized those opportunities would have pulled me away from the work that truly mattered to my spirit. When I surrendered, when I said, "All right, life, show me what is mine," a new path appeared, one that matched my gifts so precisely. It felt as though it had been waiting for me all along. This is what soul harmony feels like. It is not the shallow thrill of getting what you want in the moment. It is the deep peace of recognizing that what is unfolding is not only right for you, but was designed for you. It fits the contours of your being. It doesn't require you to contort yourself, to compromise your values, to wear a mask in order to receive it. It arrives in a way that feels inevitable, almost obvious, like meeting someone you've known all your life, but are only just encountering again. And when your human desires meet your soul's blueprint, energy multiplies. Life begins to move with an elegance that cannot be forced. Synchronicities increase. Doors open in unexpected ways, and you feel carried rather than burdened. It is as if the whole of existence leans in to support you, not because you've convinced it, but because you've aligned with it. The universe doesn't resist harmony. It amplifies it. But we must be clear. Soul harmony does not mean ease at every step. Often, it requires letting go of what you once thought defined you. It requires dying to old identities, releasing dreams that no longer serve, and facing the discomfort of emptiness before new alignment emerges. The ego experiences this as loss. The soul knows it as liberation. What feels like the death of a dream is often the birth of your true path. This is why the waiting season is sacred. It is not idle time. It is soul time. It is when your inner compass is recalibrating, pulling you back to true north. You may resist. You may fight. You may question why life feels so still, but beneath it all, a deeper rhythm is playing. And if you can soften into that rhythm, if you can allow your personal will to bend toward the will of your soul, the harmony that emerges is unshakable. Think of a musical orchestra. If every instrument played its own tune without regard for the whole, the result would be chaos, noise, disharmony. But when each instrument aligns with the conductor, the same notes transform into music. Your human mind is like one instrument. The soul is the conductor. When you let your instrument tune to that deeper rhythm, you don't lose your voice. You find your place in a symphony greater than you imagined. So, what is the harmony of the soul? It is the moment your wants and your essence merge. It is when what you long for is no longer rooted in fear, but in truth. It is when your actions are not forced, but inspired. And it is when the energy of the universe, no longer meeting resistance, flows freely through your life. When this harmony comes, you will not need to grasp. You will not need to beg. You will not need to chase. The right doors will open because they recognize you, not because you pushed them down. You will feel the quiet but undeniable sense that you are exactly where you are meant to be, doing exactly what you came here to do. And perhaps the greatest gift of this harmony is that it dissolves the illusion of separation. You begin to see that your soul and the universe are not two. They are one consciousness. moving through different forms. When your soul desires something, it is the universe desiring it through you, and the universe always fulfills its own desires. This is the hidden beauty of the waiting season. It is the slow, tender merging of human want with soul purpose. It is where impatience becomes trust, where grasping becomes allowing, where static becomes music. And when at last the two currents unite, you will know the truth. Nothing was ever withheld from you. It was simply waiting until you became the version of yourself who could receive it in fullness. 4. Inner strength being upgraded. When we are asked to wait, it is not simply time passing by. It is transformation taking root. The waiting season is not idle. It is the silent renovation of your inner world. While your eyes see nothing changing on the outside, your nervous system, your energy field, and your very perception are being restructured from within. What feels like delay is, in truth, the construction of a foundation strong enough to hold the magnitude of what is coming. Our minds tend to crave visible progress. We want signs, proof, results. Yet the most essential work often happens in the dark, beneath the surface. Just as seeds sprout invisible roots long before they break through the soil, your being develops hidden strength in seasons where nothing seems to move. Waiting is not wasted. It is wiring you for the future. Neurologically, this is more than a metaphor. Modern neuroscience shows us that the brain is plastic. It rewires itself constantly based on experience. During your waiting season, each time you choose patience over panic, trust over control, presence over fear, you are carving new neural pathways. These become the highways upon which your future reality will travel. You may not see the roads yet, but they are being built inside you, preparing you to walk a different kind of life. I remember a time when my own life seemed painfully still. Every opportunity I reached for dissolved. Every effort ended in silence. At the surface, it felt like I was stuck, but inside, something deeper was happening. The old patterns, my need for control, my addiction to urgency, my constant grasping were being dismantled. It was as though life was saying, you cannot carry these into the next chapter. They will collapse under the weight of the blessing you are calling in. At the time, it felt like loss. Now I see it as an upgrade. Your heart, too, is being recalibrated in the waiting. The heart is not just a metaphorical center of love. It is an electromagnetic field that extends far beyond your body. Science confirms this. The rhythm of your heart carries information into the world around you, influencing and interacting with other fields. When you learn to hold steady in a season of stillness, your heart field grows coherent, stronger, more harmonious. This is why some people seem to carry light with them. Wherever they go, opportunities meet them. Doors open easily. It is not luck, it is resonance. They have strengthened their field in the hidden hours of waiting. And then there is the body itself. So many of us long for expansion, more joy, more love, more freedom. But we forget that the body must also learn to hold these states. If abundance came too quickly, without the nervous system being prepared, it would feel unsafe. This is why people sometimes sabotage the very success they asked for. Their biology has not yet adjusted to the new frequency. The waiting season trains your body to endure the intensity of joy, to remain grounded in the presence of expansion, to experience blessing without retreating back into fear. This training can feel uncomfortable. Anxiety surfaces. Old traumas reappear. Your patience is tested. But this discomfort is not proof of failure. It is the stretching of your capacity. It is like lifting weights at the gym. The resistance you feel is not punishment. It is the very thing making you stronger. Every time you breathe through fear instead of running from it, every time you choose trust instead of despair, every time you sit with the silence rather than numbing it, you are expanding your capacity to hold the life you are asking for. Spiritually, this process can feel like being emptied out. Everything familiar is stripped away, old habits, identities, attachments. You may feel like you are dissolving, like the version of you who once felt secure is vanishing. And in a sense, that is exactly what is happening. The old self cannot carry the new life. The nervous system, the heart, the mind all must be rewired. The waiting season is the chrysalis where this metamorphosis takes place. The caterpillar does not look like the butterfly, yet within the stillness of the cocoon, a complete transformation unfolds. What makes this difficult is that no one else can see it. To others, you look the same. They may even question your lack of visible progress. And you may be tempted to believe them. But remember, construction is loud on the outside, only when the building is above ground. When the work is happening deep in the foundation, it is silent. Your soul is laying the hidden architecture, and though it cannot yet be seen, it is the most critical stage of all. I often think of waiting as a kind of rehearsal. The universe is handing you small chances to embody the frequency of what you've asked for. Can you hold gratitude when nothing seems to change? Can you trust in abundance when your bank account looks empty? Can you embody love even in the absence of recognition? These small rehearsals expand your inner strength so that when the placens of Ludi curtain finally rises, you are not acting, you are ready. There is also a gentleness in this truth. Life is not cruel. It does not withhold what you are ready for. It is precise. If the door is not opening, it is because the system is still aligning, still building the capacity within you. Your longing is not ignored. It is being honored in a way that ensures you will not lose it once it arrives. And here is the beauty: one day, the silence will break. The opportunity will appear. The alignment will click. The manifestation will arrive. But you will not meet it as the same person who once begged for it. You will meet it with steady hands, with a calm heart, with a nervous system trained to hold joy instead of collapse. And in that moment, you will realize why the waiting was necessary. So, if you feel like nothing is happening right now, remember this: everything is happening. Your mind is being rewired. Your heart is expanding its field. Your body is learning to hold light. This is not delay. It is upgrading. Trust that process, because when the time comes, the strength you built in silence will carry you not only into your breakthrough, but far beyond it. 5. The quantum perspective. One of the most liberating truths I've come to understand is that reality is not as fixed as it seems. We are conditioned to believe that life is linear, that the future has not yet happened, and that the past is gone forever. But when you begin to look through the lens of quantum understanding, a different picture emerges. Reality is not a straight line. It is a field of possibilities. And in this field, all versions of your future exist at the same time. This is the principle of superposition. In quantum physics, a particle can exist in multiple states simultaneously until it is observed. Only when it is measured does it collapse into one form. Life, in its own mysterious way, works just the same. There are countless versions of you already alive in the quantum field. The you who gave up, the you who settled, the you who kept going, the you who bloomed. None of them are more real than the others, until your attention, your energy, and your frequency collapse one into being. Think of it like a great library filled with books that each hold a different version of your story. The shelves stretch endlessly. Some of the books are tales of struggle. Some are tales of triumph. Some are stories of love, and others of loss. All of them exist. But the question is this: which one will you choose to read, to live, to embody? You may not control the existence of the library, but you do hold the key to which book opens in your hands. That key is your state of being. This is why holding the vibration of already done is so powerful. When you live from the frequency of I already have it, you are collapsing the version of reality where your desire is fulfilled. You are bridging the gap between what is now and what is to come. It is not pretending, it is aligning. It is becoming the version of yourself who lives in that reality before the external evidence appears. I know how impossible that can feel when everything around you says otherwise. I remember standing in the midst of silence, with no signs of progress, and being told to just believe. At first, those words felt hollow, but over time, I began to sense that belief was not about forcing myself to ignore reality. It was about tuning to a deeper reality, one that was just as real, but not yet visible. Slowly, I practiced holding that state, not with frantic affirmations, but with quiet presence, not with desperate grasping, but with gentle trust, and something began to shift. The external didn't change overnight, but my internal state softened. The fear loosened, the anxiety lessened, and as my signal grew clearer, life began to respond. From the quantum perspective, waiting is not wasted time. It is alignment time. Every moment you hold the vibration of fulfillment, even when nothing has appeared. You are literally shaping the probabilities of which version of reality you will experience. The field is responding, not to your words, not even to your thoughts, but to your state of being. This is why you can say, "I am abundant" 1,000 times and still feel lack. The quantum does not hear your words. It feels your frequency. If your words carry desperation, the field reads lack. If your silence carry presence, the field reads abundance. You may have noticed this in small ways. Think of the times you were desperate for a message, and none came. Then, the moment you released, the phone rang, or when you stopped forcing a creative idea, suddenly, inspiration returned. It was never coincidence. It was coherence. Your letting go collapsed a new probability, one that had been waiting for you all along. This is the delicate balance of living in a quantum reality. It is not about efforting harder. It is not about convincing the universe. It is about becoming internally coherent with the reality you long for. When your inner state says "already mine," the field organizes itself to reflect it. And when your inner state says "not yet," the field faithfully mirrors that too. Sometimes people ask, "But how can I believe something before I see it?" The answer is that you are already doing this all the time, just unconsciously. When you worry, when you dwell in fear, when you constantly imagine worst-case scenarios, you are believing in a reality that has not yet happened. You are collapsing probabilities toward lack. The invitation of quantum awareness is to flip this same mechanism toward love, abundance, and trust. To consciously collapse realities, not from fear, but from faith. I often describe it like this. Imagine you are standing on the shore of a vast ocean. Each wave that rises is a different potential reality. If you focus only on the waves of doubt, you will wade into that water. If you choose the wave of fulfillment, you step into that. The ocean does not stop producing possibilities. It never runs out. But your choice of where to step determines which current will carry you. Here's the beauty: you do not need to fight the other versions of reality. You do not need to destroy the timelines you do not want. You only need to withdraw your attention from them and redirect it toward the one you are choosing. What you feed with your energy grows. What you starve of attention fades. The practice is simple, though not always easy. Stop rehearsing lack and start rehearsing fulfillment. And perhaps the greatest freedom in this understanding is that you are never truly behind. The version of your life you are longing for already exists. It is not waiting to be created. It is waiting to be chosen. When you hold steady in the state of already done, you are simply walking toward the door of a room that has always been there. The waiting season, then, is not about convincing the universe. It is about convincing yourself to stay in that vibration long enough for the external to catch up. So, the quantum perspective tells us this: you are not stuck. You are standing in a field of infinite possibilities, and your state of being is the compass. When you shift your inner state, you shift the probability that will unfold. Waiting, therefore, is not the absence of change. It is the very crucible in which your alignment selects your future. And when the moment arrives, when the external finally crystallizes what you've been holding internally, you will not be surprised. You will not call it luck, or miracle, or accident. You will recognize it as inevitability. Because by then, you will know the truth. You were not waiting for it to appear. It was waiting for you to align. 6. The final threshold test. There is a strange moment that often comes just before transformation, and it has a way of catching us off guard. It is the moment when life offers you something that looks almost right, but not quite. On the surface, it resembles what you have been asking for, a relationship that carries some of the qualities you longed for, an opportunity that seems to echo your dreams, a path that appears promising, yet deep within, something feels slightly misaligned. It is close enough to tempt you, but not true enough to sustain you. I call this the threshold test. It is not meant to break you. It is not even meant to confuse you. It is meant to clarify you. The threshold test arrives as a kind of mirror, asking, do you trust yourself enough to wait for what is truly yours, or will you settle for almost? In my own life, I have faced these thresholds more than once. There was a time I had prayed for meaningful work that honored my spirit. And then, an offer appeared. It promised stability, recognition, even a taste of the impact I longed to make. Everyone around me said, take it. Don't be foolish. This is your chance. Yet inside, my chest felt tight. Something whispered that if I accepted, I would be trading depth for safety. It was almost right, but not aligned. Saying no was terrifying. But months later, a door opened to something infinitely closer to my soul's blueprint, and I finally understood. The first offer was not the destination. It was the threshold test. This is how life often works. Just before the breakthrough, the universe presents you with a choice that forces you to reveal your allegiance to fear or to truth, to impatience or to trust. It is not punishment, it is preparation. The threshold test ensures that when you step into what is truly yours, you will not abandon it for the next almost that comes along. Why does this happen? Because growth requires discernment. If every near opportunity pulled you off your path, you would scatter your energy endlessly. The threshold test refines your ability to recognize alignment. It strengthens the muscle of intuition, teaching you to listen not to the noise of external approval but to the quiet resonance within. These tests can take many forms. Sometimes it is a job that checks all the boxes on paper but leaves your spirit restless. Sometimes it is a person who seems to embody everything you've desired, only to reveal patterns that echo your old wounds. Sometimes it is a quick success that looks dazzling but demands that you abandon your integrity. Each version of the test whispers the same question: will you trust the almost, or will you wait for the real thing? And let's be honest, waiting feels unbearable when the threshold test is in front of you. The temptation is enormous. You think, maybe this is all I'll get. Maybe I'm foolish to hold out. Maybe I should just settle. But deep down, you know, the body knows, the heart knows. There is a heaviness when something is not aligned, a subtle tension that you cannot quite explain. The smile doesn't reach your eyes. The relief doesn't last beyond the first night. The satisfaction feels thin. That is the soul's way of telling you this is close, but not it. I once heard someone say that counterfeit always comes before the real. A false aversion arrives first, not to deceive you, but to strengthen your ability to recognize truth. The counterfeit shines brightly, but it cannot last. The real thing carries a quieter power, a resonance that endures. To pass the threshold test is to trust this difference. When you decline what is almost, you are not rejecting life, you are affirming it. You are telling the universe, I know my worth. I know my alignment. I am willing to wait for what carries the full signature of truth. And in that declaration, something remarkable happens. Your frequency sharpens. Your signal becomes clear. And reality, like a faithful mirror, reorganizes itself to match. But what if you fail the test? What if you settle? Even then, life is not cruel. The universe does not punish mistakes. It educates through them. If you say yes to something misaligned, the cracks will reveal themselves quickly. Discomfort will grow, and you will be guided again to choose differently. Nothing is wasted, not even detours. But the more you listen, the more gracefully you pass these thresholds without needing the detour at all. The key to meeting the threshold test is patience rooted in trust. It is the willingness to let go of almost so that you can receive aligned. This is not easy. It may feel like standing in the desert, refusing the mirage, waiting for water you cannot yet see. But the truth is, the oasis exists. It is not imaginary. It is already forming, already aligned with you. The mirage appears first only to test your trust. From the quantum view, these moments are not random. They are the final alignments before collapse into the new timeline. When you hold the vibration of fulfillment, the field tests whether you will remain steady, even when offered a half-formed version. If you stay coherent, the reality of true alignment crystallizes. If you waver, you loop again until the frequency stabilizes. Either way, the field is faithful. It always mirrors your signal. So when you face the threshold test, breathe. Remember that it is not the universe teasing you. It is the universe preparing you. See it for what it is. The last check before the door opens. The final rehearsal before the curtain rises. And if you can walk past the almost, you will step into the inevitable. Because here is the secret. The real thing never asks you to betray yourself. It doesn't demand that you shrink or contort. It doesn't leave you questioning in the dead of night whether you chose wrong. The real thing fits. It settles into your soul like a key into its lock. And when it arrives, you will look back at every threshold test with gratitude. Because you'll see that each one was not a barrier, but a blessing. Each one gave you the strength to recognize what was always meant to be yours. So, if you find yourself at the threshold now, facing something that looks nearly right, but feels slightly wrong, trust that hesitation, trust the quiet no inside you, and trust that by honoring it, you are not delaying your destiny, you are protecting it. The threshold is not the end. It is the doorway. Step through only when the resonance is clear, and you will know this is not almost. This is aligned. 7. Letting go and trusting. There is a quiet liberation that arrives when we finally loosen our grip on how life is supposed to unfold. For so long, many of us cling tightly to an image of how our blessings must arrive, what they must look like, when they must appear, who they must come through. We create a picture in our minds, and then we suffer when reality does not match it. Yet the truth I have learned, often through pain, is that freedom and fulfillment come not from controlling the form, but from surrendering to the essence. Letting go is not giving up. It is not abandoning your dreams. It is not shrinking into passivity. Letting go is creating space for life to surprise you, for love to find you in ways you never imagined, for abundance to appear through channels your mind could never have planned. When you release your grip on the narrow picture of how it must happen, you open the door to the infinite wisdom of the universe. And that wisdom has always known more than your mind could. I remember a season when I begged for a particular outcome. I believed with all my heart that if I didn't receive this exact thing, I would be lost. Day and night, I obsessed over it, attached my worth to it, and measured time by its absence. And yet, nothing came. The silence was unbearable. Only later did I see that life was not denying me. It was protecting me. Because what I wanted so desperately would have caged me, while what eventually arrived set me free. My suffering did not come from lack. It came from clinging. This is the paradox of surrender. The moment you loosen your attachment to form, you create room for the essence of your desire to flow toward you. When you demand that your blessing arrive only in the shape your mind prefers, you block all other doorways. But when you trust the intelligence of the universe, when you let go of the how, the who, the when, suddenly paths open that you never could have written for yourself. Letting go is like unclenching a fist. When your hand is tight, nothing new can enter. The muscles strain, the energy contracts, the world narrows. But the instant you open your palm, space is created. And in that space, something greater can be placed. That is the essence of surrender. It is not weakness, it is receptivity. It is choosing to open your palm to the infinite. The nervous system resists this. The ego resists this. They equate control with safety. They tell you that unless you hold on, unless you push harder, unless you force the outcome, everything will collapse. But if you look closely, you'll see the opposite has always been true. The more you clench, the more exhausted you become. The more you demand, the more fragile you feel. And yet, in those rare moments, when you allowed life to carry you, when you softened and trusted, how often did things unfold with more grace than you could have planned? Think of a river. When it flows, it does not strain to bend around rocks or carve through earth. It moves steadily, consistently, with patience. And in time, the water shapes canyons, nourishes valleys, sustains life. The river's power comes not from control, but from flow. In the same way, when you surrender, you allow your life to move like water, steady, purposeful, and far more powerful than the frantic pushing of control ever could be. In quantum language, letting go is coherence. The field responds not to the noise of your grasping, but to the clarity of your being. When you release attachment to form, your signal becomes cleaner, clearer, stronger. You are no longer broadcasting desperation or fear. You are broadcasting trust. And the field mirrors this trust back to you with experiences of harmony and alignment. Practically, this may look like saying, "I trust that what is meant for me will not pass me by." It may look like breathing through the anxiety of not knowing. It may look like refusing to chase doors that feel closed, and instead standing still until the right one opens. It may look like choosing gratitude for what is, even when what you asked for has not yet appeared. These simple acts are not weakness. They are power. They are the daily practice of surrender. Letting go does not mean indifference. It does not mean you stop caring or stop desiring. It means you care enough to step out of the way. It means you trust that the essence of what you long for, love, connection, creativity, freedom, can and will reach you, even if it takes a form you never expected. Sometimes, the form is smaller than you dreamed, but the feeling is deeper. Sometimes, the form is different than you planned, but the freedom is greater. And sometimes, the form arrives not as a single event, but as a series of whispers, nudges, and opportunities that slowly shape your life in ways more profound than one dramatic answer ever could. The beauty of surrender is that it changes you before it changes your circumstances. The moment you let go, the heaviness lifts, the fear loosens its grip. You begin to feel lighter, freer, more spacious inside. Even before the external shifts, your inner state softens, and that inner state is the true victory. Because when you carry that trust within you, no matter what arrives, you meet it with peace. I think of surrender as the soul's exhale. For so long, we hold our breath, bracing against life, clinging to control. But eventually, we are invited to release, to let the breath flow out. And in that release, life flows in. Just as you cannot inhale without first exhaling, you cannot receive the new without letting go of the old. So if you find yourself in the tightness of attachment right now, I invite you to open your palm, loosen your grip on how it must look, when it must arrive, who it must come through, and instead, trust the essence. Trust that life is wise enough to deliver not what your fear demands, but what your soul truly needs. Because here is the quiet truth: letting go does not take anything away from you. It gives you back everything that was always yours. It gives you space. It gives you peace. And in that space, in that peace, the blessings that are aligned with you can finally find their way home. 8. The biology of expansion. So often, when we dream of success, love, or abundance, we imagine only the joy of receiving it. We rarely consider what it takes for our body, our nervous system, our biology to hold it. And yet, one of the greatest truths I have learned is that expansion is not only a spiritual process, it is a biological one. Your nervous system must be trained to feel safe in the presence of greater joy, greater freedom, and greater love. Without that training, even the blessings you long for can feel overwhelming, even threatening. This is why the waiting season is so essential. It is not simply spiritual preparation. It is nervous system rehearsal. It is the slow, invisible process of teaching your body that goodness is safe, that abundance is sustainable, that love will not destroy you. Because if what you are calling in arrived too quickly before your biology was ready, you might unconsciously sabotage it. Not because you are weak, not because you are unworthy, but because your body has not yet learned to trust that expansion can be home. I have seen this truth in my own life and in the lives of others. People who suddenly receive what they ask for: money, recognition, opportunity, sometimes watch it slip through their fingers. They may call it bad luck, or irresponsibility, or fate. But often, the deeper truth is that their nervous system could not yet regulate the intensity of change. The body interpreted success as unsafe, and so it unconsciously created ways to return to the old, familiar baseline of stress or struggle. Think of someone who wins the lottery. We often marvel at how quickly the fortune disappears, assuming it was mismanagement, but beneath that story lies a nervous system overwhelmed by expansion. The sudden flood of change feels like a threat, not a gift, and the body, designed for survival, pulls the person back toward what feels familiar, even if that familiarity is struggle. This is not weakness. It is biology. The waiting season protects you from this collapse. Every day you remain aligned in the absence of visible results. You are teaching your nervous system to hold more joy without panic, to hold more abundance without sabotage, to hold more love without retreating into fear. Slowly, gently, the window of tolerance widens. What once felt unbearable becomes normal. What once felt overwhelming becomes steady. You are expanding your capacity to hold the very reality you are calling in. I remember a period when joy itself felt dangerous to me. Whenever something good happened, I immediately braced for loss. My body associated happiness with collapse, abundance with betrayal, love with abandonment. So even when blessings arrived, I could not rest in them. They slipped away, not because life was cruel, but because my body had not yet been trained to stay open in joy. The waiting season became my teacher. It showed me, through small steps, that I could feel safe in goodness. It taught me to breathe into expansion instead of tightening against it. And slowly, my nervous system learned that joy does not always collapse, that abundance does not always vanish, that love can stay. This is the biology of expansion. Your nervous system must be stretched gently, like a muscle, to hold more light without tearing. And life, in its wisdom, stretches you slowly. It introduces you to small rehearsals of abundance, small doses of love, small tastes of freedom. Each time you remain steady, Each time you breathe instead of brace, your capacity grows. Over months and years, you develop the resilience to hold what once would have overwhelmed you. From a scientific perspective, this process is measurable. Neuroscience shows us that the autonomic nervous system is constantly calibrating safety when it perceives threat, even imagined. It activates survival response: fight, flight, or freeze. But when it perceives safety, it allows you to rest, to connect, to create. The waiting season is where this calibration takes place. It is where your system learns that expansion is not a threat, but a home. Spiritually, this truth is deeply liberating. It means that waiting is not punishment, but protection. It means that when the door is not opening, it may be because your nervous system is still learning to walk through it without collapsing. It means that every delay is actually kindness, life ensuring that when your breakthrough arrives, you will not only receive it, but you will keep it, sustain it, embody it. Think of the child who longs to lift heavy weights. If you hand them the bar too soon, their body collapses. But if you give them time to grow, to strengthen, to practice with smaller loads, eventually they will lift with ease. Expansion is no different. Your nervous system is being strengthened in the silence so that when the weight of joy rests on your shoulders, it does not crush you. It carries you. The beauty of this process is that you can feel it. You can notice the subtle ways your body is shifting. Perhaps situations that once triggered panic now bring calm. Perhaps conversations that once left you trembling now leave you steady. Perhaps moments of joy that once felt fleeting now linger. These are not small signs. They are proof that your biology is expanding, that your capacity is growing. So if you are in a season of waiting, do not despise it. See it as your training ground. Every breath of trust, every moment of presence, every choice to stay open rather than collapse is stretching your window wider. You are becoming a vessel strong enough to hold what is coming. And one day, when the breakthrough arrives, you will feel the difference. You will not scramble to cling to it. You will not live in fear of losing it. You will stand steady, grounded, safe within yourself, and you will recognize that the waiting was not wasted. It was the very reason you can hold the blessing now. This is the biology of expansion, the nervous system rehearsing, the heart field strengthening, the body learning to stay open in joy. It is quiet work, invisible to others, but it is the foundation of a sustainable life. And once you have passed through it, you will not only receive your blessing, you will be ready to keep it, nurture it, and let it expand through you into the world. 9. The language of synchronicity. There comes a moment in the waiting season when subtle signs begin to weave themselves into your days. You might notice repeating numbers on a clock: 1111, RRR, 444, appearing at the very instant your mind drifts toward hope. Or perhaps you run into an old friend who speaks a single sentence that feels as though it was meant only for you. Maybe you overhear a phrase in a cafe, or a stranger smiles at you just when you were about to give up. These are not random events. They are the language of synchronicity, the way the universe whispers back to you, yes, you are aligned. Keep walking. When your frequency stabilizes, when you no longer waver between doubt and trust, the outer world begins to mirror your inner state. Just as a tuning fork causes another of the same frequency to vibrate, so too does your steady vibration call forth resonant echoes from the field around you. What you perceive as coincidence is actually coherence evidence that your consciousness has locked into a new timeline. Synchronicities feel almost like poetry, written across the fabric of your daily life. They arrive without effort. You cannot manufacture them with force. If you chase them, they scatter. But when you rest in trust, when you breathe deeply into the knowing that you are already being carried, then these signs appear with grace. They are not here to prove anything to you, but to remind you that you are not alone in the unfolding. Think of it like learning a new language. At first, the words of the universe seem foreign, incomprehensible. You wonder if you are imagining things, but over time, as you keep your heart steady, patterns emerge, numbers repeat, dreams echo waking life. Music lyrics line up with your private prayers. Conversations you overhear answer questions you have not spoken aloud. Slowly, you begin to realize the universe is fluent in symbolism. And when you hold your vibration, you become fluent too. Some dismiss these moments as chance. But consider how finely tuned your nervous system is to detect patterns. Your brain is a pattern recognition machine, designed to notice coherence in the noise. When you are fragmented, the signals of synchronicity feel scattered, like static. But when you are aligned, your perception sharpens. You begin to catch the golden threads weaving through what once seemed random. Science might call it the collapse of probability. Mystics call it the whisper of spirit. In truth, it is both. I remember a season of deep waiting, when the signs began to intensify. Every time I doubted, a hawk circled overhead. Every time I wondered if I was lost, the same line of poetry crossed my path from 3 different sources in one day. These signs did not remove the waiting, but they made the silence sing. They reminded me that the unseen was alive, that the field was responsive, that I was not wandering aimlessly, but walking in rhythm with something vast and intelligent. This is why synchronicity heals. It restores your trust in connection. It shows you that the universe is not indifferent, but intimate. It places gentle hands on your shoulders and whispers you are in the right place, at the right time, on the right path. And even if nothing outwardly changes yet, you can rest in that assurance. From a quantum perspective, synchronicity is the evidence of resonance. When your consciousness locks onto the frequency of a desired reality, the field begins to organize itself accordingly. People, numbers, symbols. These are the ripples at the edge of the wave. The first hints of a larger manifestation approaching. You are not simply noticing. You are participating in the reordering of probabilities. The signs do not cause the change. They reveal that the change is already underway. The beauty of synchronicity is its subtlety. It will never scream at you. It will never force its way into your awareness. It arrives softly, like a feather landing on your hand. You could miss it if you rush. But if you are still, if you are listening, it feels unmistakable. That is why the waiting season sharpens your sensitivity. By slowing you down, it makes you more attuned to the whispers that might otherwise be drowned in noise. It is important, too, not to become addicted to the signs. They are not the destination. They are mile markers. A repeating number does not create your future. It reflects your state of alignment. A chance encounter is not the miracle itself. It is the echo of the miracle moving closer. Receive the signs with gratitude, but do not cling. Smile at them. Let them reassure you, and then keep walking in trust. In many ways, synchronicity is the love language of the universe. Just as 2 people in deep relationship develop shared signals, glances, gestures, words that mean more than they seem, so too does life develop a shared language with you. The more intimate your trust, the more fluent the communication becomes. What looks like coincidence to others becomes a sacred dialogue to you. So when the signs appear, when the numbers align, when the words arrive on time, when the meeting feels too perfect to be random, pause, breathe, smile, say thank you. These are the universe's way of letting you know you are already woven into the new story, even if the final page has not yet turned. And when doubt creeps back, as it inevitably will, return to these markers. Remember the poetry they inscribed on your path. Let them anchor you again in trust. For the language of synchronicity is not merely about predicting the future. It is about remembering that you are already inside a greater rhythm, already part of a coherent whole. In time, you will realize that synchronicity is not rare. It is constant. The only difference is your awareness. When your vibration is steady, you tune into it like a radio dial. And once you have tuned in, life itself becomes conversation, every moment, every sign, every encounter, speaking to you in a language deeper than words. This is the gift of waiting to learn the language of synchronicity, to trust the signs, and to know that you are being carried, not towards some far-off prize, but into the alignment of who you already are. 10. The delivery system of the universe. Waiting can feel endless when you measure it only through the lens of time. But from the perspective of consciousness, waiting is less about counting days and more about trusting the process that is already underway. Imagine for a moment that you have placed an order online. You choose the item, you click confirm, and a message appears. Your order has been placed successfully. At that instant, you do not panic. You do not doubt whether the company received your payment. You know that in the invisible space of digital systems, the order is already secured. The delivery is not a question of if, but only a matter of when. This is how the universe works. Every genuine desire you hold, every vision you feel, with your whole being is an order placed in the quantum field. The transaction completes the moment you embody it in vibration, not the moment it appears physically. That desire is confirmed. The only task left is for reality to arrange itself, through channels you cannot always see, to bring it into the material world. If you were to place an online order and then spend every moment afterward refreshing the tracking page in panic, you would exhaust yourself. The package would not arrive faster because of your anxiety. In fact, your agitation would make the waiting feel unbearable. The wiser approach is to relax, to carry on with your day, trusting that the delivery system is in motion. You know the item is already on its way. You know the logistics planes, trucks, warehouses are all quietly moving on your behalf. The same is true with manifestation. Once you align your consciousness, once you stabilize your vibration into "it is done," the unseen systems of the universe begin to move. The quantum field rearranges probabilities. People are shifted into your path. Opportunities are timed with precision. Doors open in ways you could not have planned. You may not see the trucks and warehouses of this delivery system, but they exist nonetheless, operating in the fabric of space, time, and energy. What makes waiting so difficult is the mind's demand for control. The mind wants tracking updates every hour. The ego insists, if I do not see it yet, maybe it isn't real. Maybe it has been lost. But just as with your online order, the absence of visible proof does not mean the process is failing. It means the delivery is still in transit. If you can rest in that trust, the waiting transforms from torment into peace. There is a deeper truth here as well. Sometimes the delivery system takes longer not because the order is delayed, but because the recipient needs preparation. Think about it. If a fragile item arrives before your home is ready to receive it, it could be damaged. The same is true for your desires. The universe often waits until your nervous system, your mindset, your relationships, and your body are calibrated enough to hold what you have called in. Otherwise, you could unconsciously sabotage or lose the very blessing you prayed for. In these waiting periods, every challenge you face is part of the packaging and shipping process. The delays are not punishments, they are protective measures. They ensure that when the package finally arrives, you will not only receive it but sustain it. The universe is not stingy, it is precise. It knows the right timing better than your limited perspective ever could. There is also beauty in the mystery of the unseen. When you trust the delivery system, you stop micromanaging. You stop trying to force outcomes through willpower alone. Instead, you learn to live in surrender, an open posture of heart and mind. This surrender is not passivity. It is an active cooperation with life. You keep showing up, You keep tending to your inner field. You keep nurturing the vibration of already having received. You walk in gratitude as if the package is already sitting at your door. That gratitude becomes the magnetic field that ensures the delivery arrives right on schedule. From a quantum standpoint, this makes sense. In the field of superposition, all outcomes exist simultaneously. By embodying the feeling of it is already mine, you collapse probabilities into one chosen reality. You are not begging the universe to notice you. You are aligning with the version of yourself that already has what you seek. In that alignment, the delivery system activates automatically. It is not a question of chance. It is a law of resonance. I recall a time in my own life when everything I had asked for seemed impossibly delayed. Weeks turned into months, and I began to doubt whether my order had even gone through. Then, almost overnight, doors swung open. People I had never expected entered my life at exactly the right time. Opportunities unfolded so seamlessly that I realized the universe had been moving all along, just behind the curtain of my awareness. Looking back, I understood if it had arrived earlier, I would not have been ready. The waiting was part of the gift. So when you find yourself in that liminal space, suspended between desire and arrival, remember this: the order is already confirmed. The universe has not forgotten you. Your role is not to chase or panic, but to stay in alignment, like someone who has placed a trusted order and now goes about their day with calm certainty. Waiting, then, becomes less of a burden and more of a sacred trust exercise. Every day that passes is not evidence of failure, but proof that the delivery system is still in motion. And when the package finally arrives, it often comes with such precision, such grace, that you will marvel at the orchestration. You will see that nothing was wasted, not even the waiting. The universe is not Amazon. It is infinitely more intelligent, infinitely more compassionate. It does not just deliver what you ordered, it delivers what you are ready to hold. At the exact moment you can hold it. Trust this process. Relax into it. The confirmation has already been sent. The rest is on its way. The present victory. In the end, you come to see something that was invisible to you. At the beginning, waiting is not a punishment, nor a cruel delay. Waiting is the delivery system of transformation itself. What once felt like wasted time is revealed to be sacred preparation. Every loss, every rejection, every apparent setback, these are not evidence that life has turned against you. They are refinements. They are the gentle chisels sculpting you into the version of yourself who can hold the fullness of what you have called in. If you look closely, you can feel this truth in your own body. Think of the times you wanted something too quickly, only to find that when it arrived, you were not ready to sustain it. Success without inner stability can be like pouring water into a broken vessel. It leaks. It cannot be held. But the waiting seasons mend those cracks. They strengthen your nervous system, expand your emotional range, and quiet the frantic voice of comparison. They are less about withholding the gift and more about ensuring you have the capacity to keep it once it comes. The victory you are longing for is not far off in some distant future. It is already germinating here, in the soil of your present moment, like seeds planted underground. The transformation is unfolding beneath the surface, unseen but unstoppable. The oak tree does not appear overnight, but in every quiet day of waiting, roots are growing deeper. Unseen foundations are being laid. That is what is happening in you. What shifts everything is the moment you stop resisting the process. The moment you release the tight grip of comparison, when you stop looking at another person's timeline as evidence of your lack. The moment you stop interpreting silence as rejection. The moment you choose, gently but firmly, to trust your own frequency. In that trust, something opens. The anxiety loosens its hold, and peace takes root in its place. Life is less about what you chase and more about what you allow. You cannot bully the universe into rushing, but you can soften into alignment with it. And here lies the paradox: the moment you embody the vibration of already having received, the waiting ends not because the external gift has arrived, but because you realize the real gift is already alive within you. The frequency is here now. The peace, the joy, the sense of worthiness, these are available in this very breath. This is what it means to live as synchronicity rather than waiting for synchronicity. When your being is attuned, the universe has no choice but to mirror it back. It is not that the outer reality suddenly decides to bless you. It is that your inner reality has already become the blessing. From that alignment, reality cannot help but catch up. It is the law of resonance, like a tracks like. Coherence creates coherence. Imagine standing before a mirror. If you frown at your reflection, it frowns back. If you smile, it smiles instantly. The mirror is not deciding whether to reward you with an image. It is only reflecting what you present to it. The universe functions in much the same way. The moment you become the frequency of what you desire, the external reflection must shift. It has no freedom to resist. It is bound by the very fabric of resonance. And so, the deepest secret of waiting is that the victory was never somewhere ahead. It was always hidden in the now. The moment you stop waiting for life to begin, you realize it already has. The moment you stop postponing your joy until conditions change, you discover the conditions were never the source of joy in the first place. The moment you stop treating yourself as incomplete, you step into the truth that you are already whole. From this place, waiting dissolves. You may still walk through days or months before the external unfolds, but it no longer feels like a burden. It feels like breathing. It feels like resting in the trust that the order has already been confirmed, that the delivery is certain. You live as though the package is already at your door, because in the quantum field, it is. And in living that way, you discover that time itself bends, that manifestation moves swifter, because resistance has fallen away. So, the moment of arrival is not coming. It is here. It is in your inhale, in your exhale, in the quiet awareness that you are aligned right now. You do not need to wait for the grand sign, the final proof, the perfect conditions. The victory was sealed the moment you released resistance and began to live as though it was already done. That shift, subtle, inner, profound, is the true turning point. When you understand this, you see that life was never about chasing something outside of yourself. It was about remembering the power within you to resonate with the frequency of your desires. It was about trusting the unseen delivery system that has always been in motion on your behalf. And it was about allowing the waiting to become not wasted time, but sacred time, the season in which you became the version of yourself who could fully, joyfully, sustainably hold what was always meant for you. So breathe deeply, smile softly, know that nothing has been lost, and nothing is delayed. The universe has been preparing you, aligning you, refining you. Your moment is not tomorrow. Your moment is not someday. Your moment is now. You have already won, not because of what lies ahead, but because you chose to live this breath, this heartbeat, this presence as though it were already complete. That is the ultimate victory, and it was always here.